Hello, good people of YouTube. Sealord here. Premium ships are a very useful class of ships. They have an improved economy over techline ships, so you can, and will in most cases, make quite a bit of profit when you play them in terms of your credit generation. They're also very useful for training commanders up because you can move commanders onto and off of premium ships free of charge. Whereas with techline ships, you either have to pay with dubs outright to retrain that commander outright and grind out the XP, or use commander free XP and retrain that commander. But with premium ships, no worries there. But premium ships are not cheap. From tier 7 on up, they are normally either a little bit under, or in the case of tier 8 and above ships, right around the same price of AAA games. They're very much not a cheap option to go with. So purchasing multiple premium ships is something that most players are reasonably not willing to do. But if you did have to choose between all the premium ships in the game, of which there is a lot, and you could only pick one, what would it be? And that's a question that I get asked all the time. So much so that every year I come back and revisit the question and answer it again for however the game is going that year. And that's what we're doing in today's video. Now, if you've been watching the background footage, which I assume most of you do, but apparently a good amount of you just, have me going on in the background or something as you're going on about your day, you can probably already tell what my answer is for this year and put the pitchforks away for now, because I know hybrid ship bad, but let me explain my reasoning. Before we get to that though, if you do find this video informational, entertaining, or you just downright enjoy it, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment. It helps on the YouTube side of things. And also subscribe while you are here. We just passed 50k and we're about to do our 50k giveaway. Check out Monday's video for the details on that. But back to the background footage and my premium ship selection for this year for one premium to rule them all, which is the Tier 9 American premium battleship, the Kearsarge. Yes, I know, hybrid ship bad, but it's just such a good ship. If I were to tell you that you should avoid the Kearsarge, it's a terrible ship, this, that, and the other, I would outright be lying to you. This is, in my opinion, one of the best premiums ever released in this game, just on the merits of being able to do what a premium ship should do. And a premium ship has two tasks in my mind. One, and of course the most important one, is the generation of credits. The Kearsarge does that very, very well, and we'll get into that here in a second. Two is the fun factor. The Kearsarge, if you play it like it's best played, is a pretty darn fun ship. Now, there are some premiums that, of course, the credit production is not that high, but the fun production is quite high, like the Pommern. And I say that because the Pommern is a great brawler. However, brawling isn't something that happens too much anymore in game. It still does happen, but it's not like 4 or 5 years ago where it was very easy to get into a brawl. However, when the Pommern does get in the brawl, she's fantastic at it. But again, that doesn't happen that often, so it's kind of a roller coaster ride of fun with the Pommern. The Kearsarge is just consistent across the board with its performance, at least from my experience. So let's talk about her in-game performance and why she's such a darn good credit printing ship. So first off, yes, the ship does have a giant flight deck welded in the middle of it, but the filthy battleship main that I am doesn't notice the giant flight deck in the middle. I notice the 12 16-inch guns at tier 9. Now, while 12 guns might seem normal for higher tier, it's really not, especially when you consider these are, again, 16-inch guns at tier 9. Typically at tier 9, if you want to get more than the standard 9 guns on your ship, you have to sacrifice caliber. Using the Pommern for example again, she is stuck with 15-inch guns. 15-inch guns, while those are quite reasonable for a tier 8 battleship, when you get to tier 9 and have to face off against super ships and tier 10s, they're really not that big. You really lose out on a lot of overmatch at that tier when having 16-inch guns is kind of the standard for tier 9. But The Kearsarge gets 16-inch guns, and she gets 12 of them. Now, they are the North Carolina's 45 caliber guns, which means that the barrels are a little bit shorter than the Iowa's 50 caliber guns, and the Montana by extension. However, they are still 16-inch guns. Now, that lesser caliber of the gun barrel does mean that the shells do have quite a long flight time when you start getting out to range, but you still have 12 16-inch guns. So, yeah, it's a fair trade-off in my opinion, and the Kearsarge isn't really meant to be played long range. That's the mistake a lot of players fall into. They see that flight deck and go, oh, it's a carrier, and they see the 12 16-inch guns, they go, oh, I have lots of guns, I have a carrier deck, I'm going to sit at the back of the map. You don't really want to do that. Now, at the start of the match, yeah, you do kind of want to do that because the giant flight deck is very farmable, but you want to do that because you're preserving your health for pushing in the later game, much like what you see going on in the background now. So the 12 16-inch guns, again, basically having a Montana at tier 9, is a big deal. Especially in the lucky case when you do get to be top tier and you can bully some tier 7 ships. The guns are also more than workable in terms of accuracy, and this is far from the least accurate battleship, even at tier 9, right? This ship gets shells on target, and thanks in a large part due to the Special American Artillery Platinum Mod 2 module, which decreases your dispersion by 11%. So, yeah, you mount that, you're doing just fine with the guns. And, of course, the giant elephant on the flight deck, right? So, the 12 16-inch guns, even though they do have a 33-second reload, are a source of good, consistent damage when you are at medium to close range. American battleship guns are best used from medium to close range, so by tier 9 standards, like 14-15 kilometers in, you won't have any problems landing your shots. Out a little bit further, yeah, you're going to have to get good at aiming, but you'll get used to it eventually. 19 kilometers on, good luck. It can happen if it's a CV that's sitting still, if it's a giant battleship that's not paying attention at all, but the flight time out that far, yeah. Again, the ship's best played from medium to close range. You might say, well, Sealord, the giant flight deck, like you just said, can be farmed. It can, but the ship hull, the armor, is actually pretty decent, so that tumor does get saturated, like everything else in this game, and once that's saturated, you do take a beating for it. If you know how to angle, you're pretty tough, and you still have the American battleship hill on top of that, and the ship does go 32 knots, unlike a lot of the other hybrids that are incredibly slow. The Kearsarge is designed to be a hybrid from the ground up. The other hybrids in the game are conversions, so they're slower because they weren't designed to have a giant flight deck on it, but the Kearsarge was, so you got that going for you. But the planes now. The planes are what you use when, again, like at the background footage, I went to one flank, we sunk the enemy ships there, all the enemy ships on the other side of the map. Again, they're in gun range, but my guns aren't really that great at that range. I can then use the planes to supplement the missing damage that I'm getting by not using my guns at that range, or by the shots I would be missing at that range if I were to attempt to take shots at that range, for consistent damage. You get a flight of 5 rocket planes with the American rockets on them, which means that you're going to be pretty much penetrating whatever you're hitting in some way, shape, or another, as long as you go for the superstructure and doing a good bit of damage. You can usually do at least 7 to 8k a run, and you typically start a fire or two. In good situations, when you run to like a German battleship or a ship that's not paying attention and you get a good solid run up, you're going to be doing, like, I've seen 15k happen beforehand. Usually in other Kearsarges, because again, you go off to the flight deck, or on like the Louisiana or any of the other American hybrid tech line battleships. Anything that's squishy, you can easily do 15k damage, and you're probably going to be starting a fire or two with these planes. And the planes also don't run out. Every 2 minutes, they're up. They're not like the CV planes where you have to, wait for the planes to be regenerated individually. You get a whole nother flight every 2 minutes. And that 2 minutes, since the planes on the ship are considered to be an armament and not a consumable, it is affected by Adrenaline Rush and by Halsey's skill. So that will decrease as you take damage, which further increases your damage output. And again, they are the American Tiny Tim rockets, so a source of good, consistent damage. Which means that it's not a problem at all in the Kearsarge to do like 120k a game, unless you get a game where it just ends in 5 minutes. But 100k is super easy to pull off in the Kearsarge. Which then takes us back to the ship's premium economy. It is a premium ship, which means that if you can do good, consistent damage, you are going to make plenty of credits. Now, you won't be showering in them like you would with the Missouri after a single game, but after a session with the Kearsarge, if you don't just take it out for 4 or 5 battles, you're going to be having a nice tidy bit of profit, let alone if it's your only premium ship that you play in order to grind credits. Now, the fun factor, is the ship a fun ship? It is, in my opinion, because it can be played at close range. And it's absolutely ridiculous seeing this thing roll up next to you at like 12 kilometers until you get slapped with its 12 16-inch guns. And you can get all 12 of them off because despite having the giant flight deck, the gun angles aren't terrible. And again, the armor on it isn't, it's not a squishy ship with the exception of the flight deck, but like it's got a decent armor belt, so you can get in close and use your 12 16-inch guns to great advantage. It also does have 14 secondaries if you want to really meme on it. I wouldn't suggest that, but you can if you want to. So especially in today's meta where you have these huge swaths of the game where you're sitting back at max range and it's just frustrating and boring, you at least have the planes to fly around and do some consistent damage in. And once the game does move into that short range, if you've been, playing it at medium-ish range, you probably have most of your health intact and you can push in. And now they have an almost full health tier 9 battleship with 12 16-inch guns and planes on top of that to deal with. So it is, again, in my opinion, one of the best premiums out there right now, at least going from my point of view, being a filthy battleship main, and from playing mostly at higher tier, it's one of the best ships for the meta. And again, if I could only buy one premium ship, and I was going for a premium ship that does what premium ships do, and does it the best in the current meta in the game, it would be the Kearsarge. And the third thing that I haven't mentioned is that this ship is free. You do not have to fork over any cash to get this ship. This is a coal ship. She's currently available in the army for 228,000 coal. You might be saying, Sealord, that's a lot of coal. It is on the surface, but really, if you log in every day, get your 3 coal containers, you're going to get a minimum of 1,200 coal. And yes, I know that's not a lot every day, but if you're playing this game and you're going to plan on playing it for some time, just doing that, you will eventually get the thing completely for free with no additional effort other than going in every day and getting your 3 containers, which you can easily do in like an hour, maybe an hour or 2 of gameplay, if that. Then on top of that too, you have other events that give you coal. The dockyard gives you coal, and you can get that just by, again, grinding out the missions that are free. You can play some ranked, some brawls, whatever's going on. They tend to give away coal pretty readily nowadays, so you can of course speed that up. Rough estimate, if you do, ranked and participate in the other events and such, you can get the thing in probably a month or 2 very easily of just playing the game somewhat regularly, and again doing ranked and other events where there's coal out. Just keep your eye out for when coal's available. If you do want to buy the thing outright, it is $77, which is a pretty high price point. I would obviously encourage you to go for the coal method and get it for free, and when the coupon comes, you can get it for 25% off, which of course is going to make the grind a little bit better. I mean, hey, removing a fourth of the cost of the thing's pretty good. So if you want to go that route, get it for free, wait for the coupon to come off a cooldown, and get it like that. If you do want to buy it outright and you do want to fork over $77, if it's going to be your only premium ship, I'd say, yeah, it's worth it. Definitely, in my opinion. Again, I would highly encourage you to get it for free, but if you just don't have the time to grind or anything like that, okay, I understand that. And of course, too, don't go buy this thing outright as your first premium ship. Please grind to tier 10. Understand higher tier, then come back around and get this thing, preferably for coal. So that's my answer to this question. In the year of our Lord 2023, one premium to rule them all would be the Kearsarge. So guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What is your one premium to rule them all? And if you could only buy one premium ship and that's it, what would it be? Share that down below. Let's have some wonderful conversations down there. So hope you guys enjoyed. Have a wonderful day. If you did enjoy the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Again, we're on the way to 75,000 subs. That's our next milestone we've set forth, and I hope to see you guys there for that. Again, go check out Monday's video and enter into the giveaway for a free tier anything. Well, tier 1 to tier 8 premium ship that I'm giving away starting next week. So again, guys, hope you guys enjoyed. Have a wonderful Wednesday, wonderful rest of your week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.